What does God have to say to create that highway where you connect from the heart, where you stop wounding one another, where you make a request and you feel like it's falling on deaf ears? Ephesians chapter 4 has 5 very clear principles. Number 1, be honest. Speak the truth in love. We have all those things in our mind and our hearts and our expectations, but your mate can't read your mind. Speak the truth in love. And the reason we don't do it is we fear rejection. You need at certain times to say, this is really bothering me. And then not at a time when you're angry or trying to solve something, but you make a direct request, something like this. Honey, we've both been very busy lately, and I want you to know I really desire to be with you. I'd like to have a romantic evening. And what do you think about Friday night? Let's just mark that time off, because I'm really feeling neglected by work maybe, or by the kids. It's a direct request, and that brings progress. The second principle talks about our emotions. In verse 26, it says, be angry, but don't sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. And anger puts a huge roadblock, not only in our relationship with God, but with one another. What are you doing with your anger? You've got to get it out. And for Teresa and myself, I can tell you that it cost me about $90, but I'll give it to you for free. We learned to do what we call I feel messages. We didn't know how to resolve anger, so she would shut down and I would pace around the bed. And we couldn't get it resolved. And so on a 3x5 card for 2 years on our refrigerator, it said, I feel blank when you ... And so she got to say, I feel hurt, I feel angry when you come home late for dinner. I feel disappointed when, I've been away for a week and all you care about is the kids instead of giving me attention. But an I feel message addresses the problem instead of the person. So, are you ready? Be honest, be angry, and then be diligent. Notice where the text says there, it says, let him who steals steal no longer, but rather let him work diligently with his hands so that you can give to someone in need. The principle there is diligence. Be diligent. We talked about it's hard work. I cannot tell you how many books Teresa and I have gone through. Norman Wright's book on communication, or how many times we've listened to a CD, but we had to make the time. So we're going to be honest, we're going to be angry, but not sin. We're going to be diligent, and then be positive. Let no unwholesome word, verse 29 says, proceed out of your mouth, but only such a word as is for building up. You don't bring up the past. You don't label. You're lazy. You're like your mom. Well, you're like your dad. You never, you always. Those are all negative things that wound the soul and the heart of your mate. And remember, you're one flesh. Every time you wound your mate, it's like throwing a boomerang. Yeah, it hurts them, and then it comes right back around. It's going to hurt you because you're one. And so you have to work on positive, uplifting words. And then the final one is you're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Be the first to say you're sorry. Be forgiving. It says there in verse 32, it says, just as God in Christ also has forgiven you, forgive one another, be kind to one another, tenderhearted. And just be the first to say, I'm going to own my stuff. I was insensitive. I'm sorry. Don't make excuses. Look in your mate's eyes and just, when you blow it, just own it. Will you forgive me? And then just take a moment, bow your head together and say, Lord, we really want to be close, but we've wounded each other. You can restart your relationship multiple times. I've had to apologize to Teresa thousands of times over the last 30 years, and I'm sure I'm not done. But what that does is, we get right with God, right with each other, and then you get a fresh start. So, are you ready? Be honest, be angry, be diligent, be positive, and be forgiving. Those are God's tools to help your relationship go deep and go well.